The WNBA draft ratings are officially in, and boy, oh boy, do we have some things to talk.
Let's address the unspoken truth in the locker room. We all know who we're referring to. Geno Auriemma, the Yukon icon, known for his sharp wit in interviews and his influential presence in women's basketball. Yet somehow, Caitlin Clark has become the centerpiece of the narrative. Paige Bueckers recently had her moment in the WNBA draft spotlight, but compared to the media storm that followed Caitlin Clark's first overall selection last year, this time felt noticeably quieter, almost like a sobering dose of reality.
For the last few months, the mainstream media, they have tried to convince us that Paige Bueckers is a draw. Me personally, I think she's star, but I'm not exactly convinced that she is a draw.
Let's be honest, Paige. The numbers don't lie. The viewership for your draft moment wasn't just lower. It fell far short of expectations compared to Caitlin Clark's. While 1.3 million viewers is no small number, it's a far cry from the 2.6 million who tuned in when Clark declared. That's twice the audience, twice the attention. And if anyone thinks that's just a fluke, they're missing the bigger picture.
You'll find a lot of stars, but there's only a handful of draws. There's only a handful of people over the past 40 or 50 years who have the impact, the drawing power to elevate the product into the mainstream.
The media has been working overtime to position Bueckers as the next face of women's basketball. ESPN has rolled out the highlight reels, featured the in-depth interviews, and even sprinkled in that signature Geno Auriemma smirk from post-game pressers, all in an effort to keep the narrative alive. But here's the reality. No amount of Connecticut legacy or coach-crafted soundbites can hide what the numbers are shouting. Clark is the main attraction, no debate.
Whether or not Paige Bueckers is a star or a draw, that remains to be seen. Judging by the ratings for the Dump Diver draft the other night, Paige Bueckers is not a mainstream draw yet. WNBA drew 1.3 million viewers the other night for the draft on ESPN. Now, that number, it can be credited 100% to Paige Bueckers because every other player involved was completely unknown.
This isn't a knock on Paige's talent. She's undeniably skilled, and no one is questioning her game. But when it comes to star power, that rare ability to fill arenas and dominate the sports conversation, that belongs to Caitlin Clark. The draft numbers made it crystal clear. The fans made their choice. And the buzz wasn't behind the hype coming out of Connecticut. Let's be real, Geno Auriemma has built a legendary legacy. More championships than many franchises can dream of. But lately, his commentary feels less like seasoned insight and more like it's coming from someone struggling to pass the torch.
Although 1.3 million is a great number for the WNBA, it is significantly below what Caitlin Clark drew last year. Matter of fact, it's 50% lower than what Caitlin Clark drew last year.
You know the type. The relative at Thanksgiving who can't resist a passive-aggressive comment like, "That's nice, but back in my day." That's been Geno's approach to Caitlin Clark for the past 2 seasons. Subtle jabs wrapped in compliments, as if downplaying her rise somehow protects the old guard.
You're a great college player, like Caitlin was. The delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players by saying she's going to go in that league and tear it apart. There were actually odds on she's 3rd or 4th in betting odds in being MVP of the WNBA. These people are so disrespectful and so unknowledgeable and so stupid that it gives women's basketball a bad name. Okay, so the kid was set up for failure right from the beginning.
He spent 2 seasons downplaying her stats, questioning her impact, and suggesting that her supporters are just caught up in the hype. But here's the twist. His top player just got upstaged by someone who didn't need to wear a Yukon jersey to become a national sensation. The Yukon media machine might still be churning, but it's starting to sputter. During the draft, broadcast, something felt off. Interviews lacked spark, names were fumbled, and the overall energy was flat. It was as if everyone in the room sensed they were standing in the shadow of last year's true headline act.
I'm here with Anissa and Rakia, and we are holding it down right now. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
It's okay.
Sorry. What?
Go ahead, say your name.
Cheyenne Zellers. I'm so sorry. That is embarrassing. Cheyenne, I apologize by the way. That's so embarrassing.
Even veteran broadcaster Tim Wilson didn't mince words off air, noting that the contrast between this year's draft and last year's was like night and day. And he wasn't wrong. One featured a once-in-a-generation star who rewrote the record books. The other featured a talented player. The league seems determined to turn into a headline, whether the audience is buying in or not.
2025 second most viewed WNBA draft of all time, with an average of 1.25 million viewers, with a peak of 1.46 million viewers, up 119% versus 2023. And I know what the question may be, 2023. Well, Ben, just out of curiosity, because we're all curious around here, right? We all want to be well informed. What is it compared to the 2024?
So let's take a step back. Why do ratings matter this much? Because in pro sports, ratings aren't just numbers. They're currency. They drive ad revenue, sponsorship deals, broadcast contracts, the entire business model. A 49% drop in viewership isn't just a blip. It's a red flag. That's not just disappointing. It's a marketing emergency. It's the kind of number that triggers high-level meetings and some very uncomfortable Zoom calls at ESPN headquarters.
It's down 49%. 49% of the audience said, yeah, I'll go watch paint dry instead. In fact, some people, Jason Whitlock, he didn't even realize the WNBA draft took place the other night. He had found that out the next morning, that Paige Bueckers and the WNBA draft had actually taken place. Last year, 2.45 million, peaked with 3.09 million, up 307% from the previous high back in 2004, 601,000 from 2004. So 2024 was up 307% from 2004. 1.06 million women viewers was the 2024 draft. Now here we go, folks. This is when we get into the nooks, into the crannies, and into the fun.